We're now less than a month away from the NFL trade deadline, November 4th, a Tuesday, and yes, it also happens to be Election Day. By 4 p.m. Eastern, every team's front office will have made their final calls, and the rumors are already heating up fast. The Miami Dolphins look more and more like sellers as we inch closer to that deadline. Across the league, trades are flying. Greg Newsome was shipped to Jacksonville in a deal for Tyson Campbell. Joe Flacco was moved from Cleveland to Cincinnati, and Baltimore sent Adolfo Oa to the Los Angeles Chargers. The action is ramping up, and if Miami's struggles continue, expect the phone lines in South Florida to stay busy. By the way, if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. And of course, hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. We've got non-stop NFL coverage coming your way. Now, let's talk about the biggest trade possibilities for the Dolphins. If the losing continues, veterans will draw plenty of interest, and one name stands out above the rest. Jaylen Phillips. Yes, the former first-round pick out of the University of Miami. As talented as he is, Phillips is entering the final year of his contract, and that makes him the Dolphins' top trade candidate heading into the deadline. It's not an easy move to consider, but in the business side of football, timing is everything. And this could be Miami's moment to make a tough decision for the future. Jaylen Phillips is currently playing on his fifth-year option, a major factor in Miami's decision-making process. The big question now is, will the Dolphins commit to him long-term before he hits free agency, or are they preparing to let him walk and start fresh next season? If a new general manager and head coach take over in Miami, which feels more likely by the week, they'll have no loyalty to the players drafted by the previous regime. That could make Phillips a prime candidate to be moved while his value is still high. And make no mistake, his value is high. Through 5 games, Phillips has been the Dolphins' most productive pass rusher. He leads all Miami edge defenders with a 75.2 pass rush grade, 16 total pressures, and finally notched his first sack of the season against Carolina. But the numbers don't tell the full story. He's been a disruptive force every single week, posting a top 20 pass rush win rate in the league at 17.7%. Even when he's not getting the sack, he's collapsing pockets, forcing quarterbacks to move, and speeding up their throws. He's the kind of impact player every defense wants, and that makes him one of Miami's most valuable trade chips heading into November. Several teams could come calling. According to recent reports, Phillips was ranked number 4 on Bleacher Report's trade big board, with the Dallas Cowboys and Cincinnati Bengals both listed as possible landing spots. Dallas, in particular, makes a ton of sense. They're built to win right now and could use another explosive edge rusher opposite Micah Parsons. The Bengals, on the other hand, are dealing with injuries and inconsistencies, so their urgency might depend on whether they stay in the playoff race. But one thing is clear. Jaylen Phillips will draw serious interest if the Dolphins open their phones before the deadline. Now here's another team to keep an eye on, the Indianapolis Colts. Miami faced them back in Week 1, and since then, Indy has quietly turned into a legitimate win-now squad. If the Colts decide to strengthen their defense by adding another dynamic pass rusher, a player like Jaylen Phillips could push them from competitive to contender in the AFC. According to Bleacher Report, Phillips' projected trade value sits around a conditional 4th-round pick, and that actually makes a lot of sense. It could start as an early day 3 selection and potentially escalate to a late day 2 pick, 3rd round, if certain production or snap count benchmarks are met. For a 26-year-old edge rusher coming off injuries but regaining his form, that's solid value. Personally, I like Jaylen Phillips' long-term upside, but given Miami's current direction, trading him might simply be the smart business move. But let's open it up. Who do you think is the most likely player to be traded from the Miami Dolphins? Is it Jaylen Phillips? Or could it be someone else? Drop your thoughts down below in the comments. I want to see what you think. Now, moving on. The number 2 trade candidate for the Miami Dolphins is Minkah Fitzpatrick. And honestly, it's not even close. Here's why. Fitzpatrick's contract situation makes him extremely attractive to other teams. He's got 2 years left, a $1.2 million base salary with a $4.5 million cap hit this season, meaning any team acquiring him won't be taking on heavy money right away. Plus, he's under contract next year at $15.6 million base with an $18.8 million cap hit, which is fair value for a top 10 safety still playing at an elite level. Fitzpatrick continues to perform like one of the best in the league, versatile, instinctive, and always around the football. He's the kind of player every defense would love to have, especially a contender looking to make a playoff push. Through 5 games this season, Minkah Fitzpatrick has quietly put together a strong campaign. He's recorded 33 tackles, carries a 14.7% missed tackle rate, and holds a 74.2 overall grade, proving that he's rebounding nicely after some struggles in coverage last year. That improvement in coverage is especially impressive. Fitzpatrick has been targeted just 7 times, allowing only 4 receptions for a total of 34 yards, with no touchdowns allowed. He also snagged an interception and a pass breakup against Carolina, holding opposing quarterbacks to a 30.4 passer rating when targeted. In short, when you list Miami's defensive problems, Minkah Fitzpatrick isn't one of them. He's been dependable, disciplined, and smart, particularly in coverage, whether in zone or man-to-man assignments. His consistency and leadership have kept the Dolphins' secondary from completely falling apart. But here's the reality. The trade market for a player like Fitzpatrick would be massive. Multiple contenders could make the call. The Dallas Cowboys once again stand out as a potential fit. Their defense is elite, but could use another veteran safety to solidify the back end. The Houston Texans, who recently moved on from C.J. Gardner-Johnson, could also look to add a proven leader to their young defense. Meanwhile, the Washington Commanders, in full win-now mode, might pursue him to stabilize a shaky secondary. And don't sleep on the Philadelphia Eagles. Even though they have young talent like Reed Blankenship and Andrew Mukuba, adding a player of Fitzpatrick's caliber could immediately elevate that defense. Given his production and contract, the Dolphins could realistically land a day 2 draft pick in return, likely a 3rd-rounder, and possibly even higher if multiple teams get involved. For a player still performing at a top 10 level, that's excellent trade value and a move that could reshape both rosters involved. When you look back at Miami's recent trades, like the deal involving Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey, it helps give us a clear picture of Minkah Fitzpatrick's current value. In that move, Miami sent away Ramsey and Smith along with a late day 3 pick in exchange for Minkah and an early day 3 pick. That trade framework places Fitzpatrick's projected value around a 3rd-round pick, and based on his strong play this season, that's still a realistic return. Don't be surprised if multiple teams reach out before the deadline. The interest will absolutely be there. Now, whether the Dolphins actually decide to move him is another story. It all depends on how the front office views this roster. Are they retooling for the future, or still trying to win now? Either way, teams will be calling. Let's shift gears to another name that could find himself on the trade block, running back Jaylen Wright. Wright, a second-year back out of Tennessee, was drafted in the 4th round of the 2024 NFL Draft, and this one feels pretty straightforward. Given Miami's crowded backfield and depth at the running back position, Wright could easily become a trade candidate as the team looks to balance its roster and stockpile picks for the future. The Dolphins currently have a crowded backfield: Devon Achane, Alec Ingold, and Jaylen Wright. Ingold fills that hybrid fullback or H-back role, while Achane continues to shine as the explosive playmaker in this offense. But here's the key point. In Week 5 against Carolina, Jaylen Wright was listed as a healthy and active. That says a lot. If he's not dressing on game day, it's clear where he stands on the depth chart. Miami clearly prefers Alec Ingold and Ollie Gordon, and honestly, it's hard to argue with that. Gordon is the better complement to Achane. At 6 feet 2 inches, 225 pounds, he runs well between the tackles, provides solid power, and has developed into a reliable pass blocker. Wright, meanwhile, has battled injuries and underwhelmed during the preseason. At this point, keeping him inactive every week doesn't make much sense. Bleacher Report even suggested a potential trade scenario, sending Jaylen Wright to the Kansas City Chiefs in exchange for a 2026 6th-round pick, and that actually fits perfectly. Kansas City could use a change of pace back with speed and receiving ability to complement Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, while Miami could pick up a future draft asset for a player unlikely to see significant snaps. If the Dolphins can secure a day 3 pick for Wright, that's a move worth making. It's smart, forward-thinking roster management, and it gives Miami a chance to keep building toward the future with flexibility and depth. And hey, if any trades go down, make sure you're subscribed right here. We'll have every breaking update, reaction, and analysis ready for you as soon as news hits. Now, moving on to the fourth and final trade candidate, another veteran edge rusher, Bradley Chubb. Now, let's talk about the final name on our list, Bradley Chubb. This one makes a lot of sense on paper. Chubb is a veteran presence who still flashes talent, recording 3.5 sacks so far this season. But when you dive deeper, the numbers don't tell the full story. His pressure rate and pass rush win rate haven't been as strong as the sack total suggests, and his overall impact has been inconsistent. So, would a trade make sense? Financially, not really. Here's why. If the Dolphins were to move Chubb right now, they'd be taking on a massive $11.4 million in dead cap for this season alone, meaning they'd be paying him not to play for them. It gets even worse next year. Trading him before the deadline would leave Miami with over $30 million in dead cap for the 2026 season. That's a steep price to pay just to move a veteran edge rusher whose trade value would likely land around a 5th or 6th round pick. The math just doesn't add up. From a front office standpoint, it would be nearly impossible to justify. That said, there will absolutely be interest around the league. Teams are always looking for veteran pass rushers, and Chubb's name still carries weight. Some general managers might see the sack numbers and believe he could provide a spark down the stretch. For a team acquiring him, the cost would actually be pretty manageable, under $1 million in salary for the rest of this year. Next season, things change a bit, but for a win-now contender needing help on the edge, the short-term gamble could be worth it. So while a Bradley Chubb trade feels unlikely from Miami's perspective, don't rule out the possibility entirely, especially if the right team comes calling with an aggressive offer before the deadline. Now here's the key. While plenty of teams would love to get their hands on Bradley Chubb, the numbers just don't make sense for Miami to move him right now. This season, a team trading for him would pay almost nothing in salary, which is why the interest will definitely be there. But for the Dolphins, the 2026 dead cap hit makes a trade nearly impossible, unless some team offered a first-round pick. And let's be real, that's about as likely as hitting the Powerball. So the most realistic scenario? Chubb stays put. A post-June 1st trade next offseason could be a different story, but for now, the financial side of it makes a move this year almost impossible. To wrap things up, here are my predictions for Miami's top trade candidates before the deadline. Jaylen Phillips, most likely to be traded. Minkah Fitzpatrick, probably stays. Jaylen Wright, could be on the move. Bradley Chubb, stays put. Of course, the NFL trade deadline always brings surprises, and you never know what kind of last-minute chaos could go down in Miami or around the league. Before we wrap up, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with your friends. And of course, hit that bell icon so you never miss an update on all the latest NFL news. The trade season is heating up, and things are only going to get crazier from here. Stay tuned, because this story is just getting started.